So that's what we're talking about today. Cyprian Nyamwamu is going to join us in just a minute. Dear Mr. President, we're going to be looking at the economy, we'll look at economics, and we'll also look at empowerment and what it actually does mean. And we'll get into some of those conversations this morning.
There was empowerment in Western also over the weekend.
Yes, there was, and it was interesting to see that it was held in
Mama empowerment or something.
It was Mama empowerment or something like that. There was a nice word that was formed from it, but it happened in Caleb Amisi's constituency, Saboti, and interesting because the list of invitees was nationwide. Gathoni Wabushoba, Mama was there. Edwin Sifuna was there. Of course, himself, Caleb Amisi, was there. And there was a litany of other leaders who were there. And it is at this meeting that the Secretary General of the ODM party said, you know what, guys, don't get it twisted. If this is the support that you're going to give, replace me. If we get to that point where it's going to happen, so the man seems to be really grounded in his creed. That this is where I am. You're not going to be able to move me from that I have seen something. And if there are undertones about what will happen politically, or if there are certain kind of alignments that will then shift and be made, I think you're starting to hear the whispers of those. But I thought it was really interesting that take her out of Githunguri and put her in Western, and her message as Gathoni Wamushamba remains the same.
But interestingly, you listen to what Sifuna was saying, and it's double-barreled for me. And when every time you listen to a politician, there's always undertones of what are the discussions in the boardrooms before they take the stand, hold the microphone, and say whatever they're saying. So if you're to look at a few, if you're to look back at at moments where the last one where he was reading that statement, and Raila was standing there, and Nyang Nyong was there, Abdul Swamad, Mombasa governor was there, and all these other, Gladys Wanga was there, and all these other leaders. And the impression was he's reading this thing like somebody who's been forced to read it. You're the Secretary General, just read it. And so he was reading it. But what I also tend to see is there was something he said that if then this arrangement is what is going to push us to support William Ruto 2027, count me out. In the meantime, I'm sticking here. If you feel you want to replace me, go ahead. But there is nothing like supporting William Ruto in 2027. Question is that Edwin Sifuna speaking as Edwin Sifuna? Or is Edwin Sifuna the Secretary General speaking on behalf of Baba?
But he didn't cross those. He didn't blur the lines. He was very clear.
Yes.
He even told journalists after that presser, don't ask me questions for Edwin Sifuna. Ask me questions for the Secretary General of ODM. So what is he telling you? That if you're going to ask me questions about Edwin Sifuna, the answer I will give you will be totally different. In this capacity, I am sitting as the Secretary General. My other opinions as myself are different from what we will be discussing here, and I will not answer questions as Edwin Sifuna. What does that tell you? That there's a divergence of opinion. There's a divergence of feeling. But then we know him to, far be it from us to imagine that he would say something different from what he's actually feeling. And 3 days later, in Saboti, he said it. I will not support. Just know, if you want to get rid of me, get rid of me.
But Baba defended him. Baba said, Sifuna is the Secretary General, speaks on behalf of the party. If there's anyone who has an issue with him, you have a different opinion, go. Give out your opinion. But from the look of things, and just for clarity, has Baba or ODM said they're supporting William Ruto 2027, by the way? Have they?
They said that they will be, what the words are, and then, take it as you will, but the words have been that we are in this broad-based government until 2027. That's what they have said. Have they gone beyond that to say that we will throw our support behind William Ruto in 2027 in the election? They have not. At least not yet. But in not this broad-based government as it is right now, they're there.
No, not officially, but there's some within the party who have actually said they're supporting William Ruto's
2027.
But it is not a party position.
It's not a party position. And that's what I'm saying. When Sifuna then is speaking the way he is speaking right now, and he's very clever. He knows the party leader, who's Raila Amolo Odinga, hasn't categorically said we are supporting William Ruto 2027. He has said we are working together up until that point. And we are expecting there will be an announcement whether this union will be formalized and that they will then walk the journey together in 2027. So at the moment, what Sifuna was saying in Western is what he has always been saying, is what is the position of his party leader. So nothing really strange. That's what I'm saying. When I'm listening to him, there are two sides. There is what he's saying as his own opinion, but then there is what he always says as the position
of the party.
Yeah. And it's been allowed to say those things. So could we be looking at a situation where before 2027 these guys will say, but tulikuwa tukiwaambia? We had already set the stage that we had prepared you that we are in this thing up until 2027, not after.
Indeed.
Interesting.
All right. Well, let's see. Because you know what? Cyprian Nyamwamu is here. Cyprian, good morning.
Good morning, Du.
How are you doing?
Very, very well.
Yeah?
We thank God
we do.
that we are alive on this wonderful Monday and we are in a new month.
Yeah.
August in Kenya normally comes with a lot of interesting dynamics and developments.
Yeah.
Kari, how are you?
I'm very, very well, sir. How are you?
Very well.
Good to see you.
Asante.
Karibu sana.
Setu, how are you?
Salam sana.
Asante. Yes, yes.
Well, I mean, a few minutes into the conversation, but we're glad that you're here anyway.
Yes.
We're going to start off this conversation. You know, it's probably going to be one that's going to be heavy as we spoke over the weekend. Dennis is in a different country this week. We'd like to hear interpretation of the proverb he'll share.
So we are in South Africa, and let's just go straight to the proverb. The ox always takes the first hit. The ox always takes the first hit. How would you interpret that, Cyprian?
Which ox are we talking about? I want to be sure. The bull?
Yes.
Always takes
the first hit.
The first hit. So, I mean, to look at it from the African eye is that the father of the home, the president of a country, the leader of an organization always takes responsibility for what happens in that space. And that is the concept of responsibility, I would imagine. I didn't know that South Africa has serious bulls, but here in East Africa we are very serious ones, and that would be my interpretation, that the leader, once you accept the position of leadership, it comes with responsibilities, and you take the first hit.
So the hit should not come as a surprise, because
should not come as a surprise. That's what you signed for. When we pay dowry, we know why we are doing that. Yes, you can't look surprised down the line when then the heat comes, and even the heat itself, goes up. You must be prepared for it.
Wow, that's great. Looking at certain things that have been happening in the country, and we're going to take it from the point of view where indeed there have been cries, across board to have better governance in place, or to then have a leadership that stands out very clearly. And rather than look at the person directly or the people, let's look at the issues, which will inadvertently at some point to the people. So let's look at the issues. There's an empowerment program that's currently going on around the country, and that in different counties there are politicians who will come out and they will meet Kenyans, and there will be at some point some kind of monetary, I don't even know what to call it, a gift, and what we're being told is that it is development, it's empowerment, it is actually now putting money in the hands of the people. Now, where the people would welcome such a thing, because in that moment it is gratifying and is satisfying to a certain extent, can we look at it as economic development and empowerment when it comes to what it ought to be doing for the people of Kenya? Or should we say fund systems so that the systems actually work, so you don't have to do this? Is it economic empowerment as we see it, development, or are we seeing that the politics of the day are at play? Cyprian.
Thank you very much, Ndu. And we have discussed governance here on this platform a couple of times, and we've come to the agreement that failed leadership produces failed governance, and failed governance leads to tragedy. So what you are seeing now in those so-called empowerment programs is actually a tragedy. We are celebrating, we are institutionalizing calamity. That's calamity. What you see now called empowerment is actually calamity. And I'll use very easy examples for everybody to understand. There are three questions that have to be asked as relates to the so-called empowerment programs. And the first one is an institutional question. Which institution is doing the empowerment? Because in governance, we are interested about which institution and which policy is being implemented. When I reviewed the Kenya Kwanza manifesto at 1,000 days, we at the Future of Kenya and at Kenya Bora, we reviewed the Kenya Kwanza manifesto when they marked 1,000 days in office. It feels like they've been in office for thousands of years, although it has been 1,000 days. You don't see any of those things they are doing now in the manifesto. I don't find it anywhere. It's not there. So what policy are they implementing? Which institution has the responsibility, and where is the money coming from? That's how governance is done. We ask, which law or policy is this? Number two, which institution? Because how do we hold them accountable when we don't know which institution is responsible? Number three, where is the money coming from that is being distributed and that is being doled out? And those are the three questions that nobody wants to answer, which tells you that this is a tragedy. It's no longer empowerment, it's actually tragedy. And it is to try and cover over the massive failures of the Ruto administration at 1,000 days, at 3 years. So those are the three questions we must ask. Because if we start scratching those three questions, you will find that those are criminals who are being allowed to operate out there, who should be in jail. What the people of Kenya should do is to start arresting these criminals out there claiming to be doing empowerment programs, and ask them the three questions I've just posed right now.
If you were to ask them to the president, because obviously, I mean, essentially this is a conversation that we'd ask the president to hear certain things that Kenyans are saying, Cyprian. This is interesting because across board, there are different arms of government that are at play, whether you have the legislature, because members of parliament are involved in these empowerment programs, and oversight as well. We had the senator for Kericho County the other day say something very clearly, and he said, do whatever it is that you want to do. This empowerment will continue. It would appear as though they do believe that these empowerment programs are helping Kenyans. How do you dissuade them from that notion?
No, we can't go to the Kericho Senator as a script, because that is where they want us to go. The way hypnotization, what they are doing is what in psychology we call hypnosis, to hypnotize the people so that the people cannot be able to ask the fundamental questions. So don't go that direction of whether the programs are helping people or not, because you will be jumping straight into a trap. We don't do governance like that. Because people can be doing 1,000 other important things out here. Right now in this country, there are many people supporting youth soccer clubs, drama, whatever. We don't have a problem with that. We are saying when government officials are the ones involved, we ask those 3 questions. We ask you, which policy are you implementing? Because that's how governance is done. Otherwise, private individuals, if Okari wants to sponsor the Mothers Union in the local church where he comes from, with 3 borders or tents and whatever, we will never ask Okari, why are you doing this to your local mother's church? We don't ask those kinds of questions to private questions. So the question cannot be, are what they are doing beneficial? No, we can't go to that kind of a conversation. We have to bring them back to what we call the guardrails. Governance operates within the guardrails. If we jump out of the guardrails, we don't know where we are, because anything goes. So we have to bring them back to the fold and ask them, which policy is this? Where was it passed? That's the parliamentary question. The second question is, which institution is responsible for this? Because then let us fold CDF. There are a lot of things that are already in operation. Why have we stopped now delivering through those institutional frameworks? So that we can hold somebody account, because we will know where the money has come from. Right now, what we are being invited into is, don't hold us within the framework of what the Constitution, the laws, and the policy says. Leave us to now operate outside, even though you gave us the responsibility under the law. The president swore an oath at Kasarani, which was presided over by the Chief Justice and the Registrar of the Judiciary. That is, every time we discuss William Ruto as the president, we take him back to the oath of office. Because once we take him back to the oath of office, we are going to take him back into the Constitution. But if we move out of the oath of office of a member of parliament, of the president, of individuals who are in public service, we will never hold them accountable. That's what they want.
But Cyprian, my question is, every time we have an election and we're getting to another election, we get into this election frenzy and campaign mode. At the moment, whenever that happens, there's a transparency black hole, because there is no paper trail to anything. There is no processes of accountability. And the buzzword here is empowerment, but clearly is just a coined name for handouts. And we know the politics of tokenism and handouts in this country. It has always been there. Now,
is it handouts or bribery?
So it's handouts, bribery, now it's empowerment. It's all those things combined.
Correct.
Now, these drives, by the look of things, because you've raised a very, very important question of policy, where do we go to check all these things? These drives are not backed by any policy. They're not backed by any national fund. They're not backed by any audited budget. So at the time when they're saying mbunge fulani ametoa yake, rais ametoa yake milioni 2, mimi natoa yangu milioni 1, they're not saying you milioni 1 is as deputy president or as Kindiki a person, and then all these other collections from like-minded friends in supporting these small groups. My question is, why are we surprised?
We are surprised because we are going to mark the 15th year of the Constitution of Kenya 2010. The Constitution, Okari, you are here. You saw that many people died fighting for this Constitution. Yes. Many people were maimed, jailed, families broken. Why? Because we rejected the way we were governed under the previous Constitution. So we fought to create a new constitutional order so that we can end that way of doing things, where individuals run a country very much like a kiosk. So what the William Ruto administration is doing is saying, forget about this Constitution. Let us go to the kiosk way of operating. And we are telling them that is what we rejected. And they are saying, even if you rejected that, we are going to take you there anyway. And so the competition now is, how much money have you given? So that we don't ask the question, the money you've given, where did you get it from? And you bring me to an important place, because these individuals that you are seeing doling out millions of money, some of them are my age mates, some of them are younger, like Murkomen, and we know the lives they were living 10 years ago. They were university lecturers who could not even afford a air ticket to Eldoret to teach at the School of Law. You understand? So they couldn't even pay school fees for their children. They were taking shuttles to North Rift. But now they have this excess supply of money, which they are even saying they are very charitable and generous in giving. And they don't want us to ask, can we go to the economic crimes? There's in Kenya, there are laws. There's the Public Officers Ethics Act. There is the Economic Crimes Act in this country. People don't want us to hold them to account within the legal framework that we have established and the constitution that we have passed and promulgated. And don't be surprised, because some of these people were actually against the constitution of Kenya. They campaigned against it. And so we are not surprised at all, Okari. What we are saying is that we reject being taken back to the kiosk operation, which is what we rejected when we brought the new constitution. What they are proposing to us is what we are rejecting. And the people of Kenya, especially the young people, rejected and have rejected this way, this modus operandi of doing things.
But Cyprian, you see, the people of Kenya, the Gen Zs, have rejected the way things are going. But if you then move forward on who then is to take this burden, this rejection, and act on it, we look at bodies as the Office of the Auditor General, who's always spoken about what is happening with regard to how money is being spent in government. Then enter EACC. EACC seems to have been quiet, and then the legislative arm of government that is supposed to oversight the executive, because you look at empowerment and the people championing it is the executive. But here you have a legislature that is as well just singing to the songs being perpetrated by the executive. So how then do we ensure that what we are rejecting will actually end up, say, in court if the bodies in charge of oversight are silent?
Ndu will tell you that I'm a very hopeful man, because I don't expect somebody else to do it for me. That is the only reason I'm alive. Because I never wake up in the morning and expect that somebody is going to do it for me. That's why I go to court. That's why I go to the street. That's why I'm an active citizen. That's why I go to these offices and petition them and ask direct questions. That is why I take my time to study the documents. I'll tell you that the document that UDA and Kenya Kwanza published in the last chapter under governance, the first promise was that they were going to conduct a state capture commission. They were going to establish a state capture inquiry and a commission, which is, I know where that came from. There's a friend of mine, I will not name him on air, who knew what South Africa did with their state capture commission and how that became very significant in removing Zuma from office. So they promised us that, and a lot of people supported them, because the State Capture Commission was going to solve the problems we are seeing today. So let me tell you where we are with that. And that's why you will see me going to the policy, to the legal framework, to the institution that is responsible, and to the sources of money. Because if you don't operate within that framework, you are just a commentator on the street. So let me tell you that they knew that if you attempt to commission a state capture inquiry, it is the very people who have now been elected who will be found guilty. So they didn't commission the state capture inquiry. And what has now happened under the administration of William Ruto is that the state capture has become complete and it is deep. It is actually entrenched. The state capture is complete. It is so bad that a judge who makes a judgment that is not favorable to the executive, his or her security is withdrawn at 2 p.m. You make a ruling at 11. By the time you are going for lunch, you are a judge in Kenya, your security has been withdrawn. All of us meeting here know that it's happening. It has intimidated judges so badly that the independence of the judiciary in Kenya is dead completely. The independence of the judiciary in Kenya is gone, so that the judiciary is told, charge these people under the Terrorism Act, the Suppression of Terrorism Act. And the judiciary does exactly that. Instead of asking the first question, what is the evidential basis of charging these people under the Terrorism Act? Because we all know what the Terrorism Act is supposed to do. I'm just telling you how badly institutions are dead. Look at the EACC. I mean, nobody expects anything from institutions in the country. The only two offices that are working is the control of budget and it is the Auditor General. But we know what is happening to these offices. The other commissions, like the Kenya National Commission on Human Rights and all the Chapter 15 commissions, have been crippled. What has been done there is that withdraw the budget so that they don't have money to operate. So the Auditor General is there, but her budget is being slashed every year and threatened that if you continue with your toughness and the enforcing of accountability, we are going to completely cripple you, or we look for some, charges for you. You saw the control of budget a year ago and a half. I remember I was with her in Mombasa, being charged that when she was in Asako, she borrowed, she lent money to somebody, and so you're hearing what I'm saying.
Yeah.
This is Asako. She was an official of. She used to be an official of. Now she's the controller of budget, a constitutional office in the Republic of Kenya, who is being treated to this kind of humiliation. So that she's told, don't keep asking questions in terms of how we spend money, how we spend money outside the controls. That is how, over the last 7 months between July and March this year, you saw that Treasury spent 1.3 trillion manually. They did not do the control of budget. They didn't pass muster. So it's a rogue. This is the word that Dennis, that Aseto wants me to use.
Okay.
He wants me to use on the show the word that we are feeling the pangs of a rogue state. A rogue state that is not operating within the constitution. And because there is no opposition, and because the church and the religious institutions are in bed, and because parliament is dead, we are under a tyranny. What we call constitutional authoritarianism is actually what is operational in Kenya. So people can be killed, and if they complain, like you kill Albert Ojwang, if we demonstrate and complain, you kill more of us. Because why are you complaining about who we have killed?
Yeah.
So usually we'll see that there is the exemplification of some of these ideologies that you talk about. Constitutional authoritarianism. It would not be the first time, if that is what we're experiencing, that it has happened on the globe. Now, if we
Many times.
Yeah, it has. And if we have conversations that are directed towards solutions, which is the position that I think we should be in, whereby you say, okay, so this is the problem. If that truly is the problem,
what is the solution?
What have been solutions to constitutional authoritarianism on the globe in history?
Very good. Now, some of them are extreme, but they are normally 5, if I can be able to recount. The first one, which is the laziest, is to say, wait until the election and vote them out. Well, that is a very straightforward one. The second one is the convention way, where the citizens say enough is enough, and they convene a sovereign people's convention. That is provided for in Article 1 of our Constitution, right? The third is not just a convention, but going directly to call for a referendum on the government that is in place. That is what we call in simple language recall. You recall the government that is in place because it is acting against the established constitutional order. The fourth, which is not very popular, and that is why we keep some of these for later, is that people can be able to institute a revolution. We have seen it in Sri Lanka, we've seen it in Bangladesh, we've seen it in many countries. Raila keeps giving us the Sudan, bad example, but he doesn't mention Sri Lanka and Bangladesh, which happened much later and more recently. Actually, almost at the same time with our Gen Z revolt of last year. So this is what we call popular uprising. Okay. Popular uprising, mass action, which is provided for in Article 37 of our Constitution. Article 37 of our Constitution. All right? And then there's the fifth, which is least desirable, military coups. The problem with military coups, and that's why we don't champion that way of doing things, is that the first casualty of a military takeover is the Constitution itself. Yes. So you cannot be running away from constitutional authoritarianism to no constitutional governance at all. So we have to tell Kenyans that there are these 5 options that are before us. The first one, the laziest, is wait for the next general election. The president keeps telling us that, I was elected, and he says it as if he was elected to stay in power regardless of what he does. And the youth of Kenya have said that you can't kill us and lead us. And more people are saying you cannot steal from us and lead us. We can't allow people who violate our rights, our sovereignty, and our constitution to continue to stay in power. So where are we at the moment? We are at a place where we are only 23 months to the next general election, depending on who is doing the interpretation. My friend Willis Otieno has been on this show, and he is completely right that the election should be conducted next year in August. Yeah. It's very clear that August 2026 is the day of the next general election. I don't know whether we are even ready for that kind of an election. I won't be one of the people who are agitating for that, whatever. But the one provision that I have skipped deliberately is actually the impeachment of the president. And I knew that you were going to ask me that. But I left it out of the 5 options because these 5 options are the people's options. Yes. We have a country where we have a parliament whose work includes oversight and legislation and representing the people. So Asetu was asking what has become of parliament. What has become of parliament that it is that it is so captured that Kenyans do not even suggest to them that can you try, because they have moved from, I say that they have moved from being a watchdog to a lapdog. And Dennis would know what a lapdog is. He's the one when you come from work which jumps and you pet it and give it more milk if that's what's needed, and so on and so forth. So we don't have a watchdog anymore, because institutions are completely pocketed. They are all there to represent the president, not the people of Kenya, but the president.
It's interesting that you say this, because just the other day when conversations around recalling, because this is one of the things on the list, IEBC then said very clearly that there was no So essentially, if you wanted to do anything like recalling, you can kiss that goodbye, because there's lack of legislation or clear framework within which this would happen. And they cited a court ruling which was made in 2011, declaring parts of the Elections Act unconstitutional. So basically, the IEBC says to you, if you're thinking about recalling or some of these things that you suggest, Cyprian, that it will not be possible because there is a lack of framework, essentially, not enough laws.
Which is why this IEBC that has just been sworn in has not inspired any confidence from the people of Kenya. There's an important thing that we need to say at this stage. Every 6 months, we conduct what we call the diagnostic. We assess the level of confidence in institutions in our country. In the surprisingly, the confidence and the trust in institutions of governance is at its lowest since independence. Take the police, for example. There is no time in the history of our country that Kenyans have lost trust in the police like it is now. In fact, it's just that we don't have funding to conduct the nationwide survey, because we do it in all the 5,100 sublocations in the country to check what Kenyans say about the institutions of governance. But I'm sure that right now, the level of trust in the police could be anywhere near 26 or probably 27%. And that is supposed to be a trusted institution that dispenses justice. That's why I come to IBC. I wanted to make the broad point that when there is authoritarianism, the first casualty is the institutions. There's no confidence in the institutions. So no wonder there's no confidence in the presidency. Of course, there's no confidence in parliament. Of course, there's no confidence in the judiciary. Of course, the confidence in the police is very low. But what about the umpire, the IEBC? Democratic practice globally is that any electoral institution is supposed to enjoy a minimum of 65% rating. You know that our IBC, the highest they have ever gone is the Chebukati IBC when it was brought to office January 2017. That is when IBC got as high as 54%. But then after the 2017 election, which the Maraga Supreme Court nullified, it has been on a free fall. You've seen commissioners resigning, electoral officers being killed, etc. They can't even.
Now you have a new lot in Cyprian.
You have a new lot.
There's an opportunity for that,
which has come in through a very suspect process. You saw some of them were brought in through some addendum. They didn't even apply. So you are wondering who is this who pushed their names into the list. But forget about all that. We said, forget about it. We now have an IBC. We didn't want a constitutional crisis. But the first test that the IBC was given is the people to exercise their right to recall. What have they said? Oh, you know, the law is not there. Or, you know, you can't recall. You can only recall MCS. If these are lawyers, because they are, the chairman is, the vice is, the Anderito is a lawyer, Mukwana is a lawyer, Alutalala. These are lawyers. It's only 3 of them who are not lawyers. The other 4 are actually lawyers. They know that the first thing that you are taught is that the Constitution is supreme. If the Constitution has provided for the right of recall, you can't give excuses. You have to implement the Constitution. You are an independent constitutional body. So how did we conduct the 2005 referendum? There was no referendum law.
But it was carried out.
We carried out the referendum. How did we carry out the 2010 referendum? There was no law, but we conducted the referendum. So these lazy excuses are the reason why Kenyans start to suspect that this IBC may not live up to the expectation of the people. What excuses are those? Conduct a recall according to the court ruling in the Katiba Institute application. The judges, the honorable judges, actually stipulated the circumstances and the thresholds that can be met and should be met for us to recall. There's a list of 63 members of parliament I have seen where Kenyans want to recall, including our own Esther Passaris, the women rep of Nairobi. Why should Kenyans be denied the right to recall their members of parliament? You can't expect MPs who are supposed to be recalled to make a law in terms of how to be recalled. So IBC is let me keep it clean. They are giving excuses. I didn't want to say anything outside that.
Because, Cyprian, you look at even the recall clauses that are being quoted here, one would say even when the Deputy President, Rigathi Gachagua, was being impeached, IEBC played a role in that because they had to be contacted for that process to happen. But here's a situation where you look at the office of the Deputy President and an MP, one would argue that impeaching a Deputy President is far much difficult. But we were able to impeach the Deputy President. Then when all these excuses being given by IEBC is being fronted, is it because their neck has been chokehold proper that they just can't breathe?
This is part of the reason why the political class didn't want IBC constituted early, because if you constitute them early, then they gain confidence, then they get autonomy. And so these new commissioners have been told that we are really watching you. If you try to rattle the political establishment, first, we will not provide you the money. Secondly, we will withdraw your security. And you know what happened to Musando. So they are behaving well so that they do not annoy the political class. Because if they annoy them, Parliament may deny them money. Parliament may withdraw things from them. So they are basically trying to play to the gallery. They are trying to tell them, we are good guys. We are not tough-headed. We are not even going to follow this constitution of theirs. We are just trying to be good to you so that you can. We are your friends, actually. That's what they are telling us. And we know why they are behaving that way. Because they know that the constitutional independence that is associated with their name. By the way, Okari, all over Africa, we are told that if you see something calling itself independent, it is most likely not independent.
Just in case you are wondering.
Like the way they say, if you're a father in a house and you keep remembering,
and you keep saying people that I'm the father in this home.
We
know that there's a problem there. So I said, I don't know whether I'm answering your question. Yes. That these people are actually not helping the damaged reputation. They don't have a reputation. There's very little confidence in this IBC, and they are not helping matters. And so I am looking at a 2027 election where we are going to an election where there is no confidence in institutions. And that is a massive political risk to the very existence of the state. And I'm using carefully chosen words
this morning. They've been carefully chosen words, but as some stark realities, I think, that you've pointed out this morning, that if anything, they need to be pondered upon. And of course, then having this conversation was one that was necessary to have. Our time runs out, Cyprian, and we want to thank you for being here with us this morning. Looking for times where people can have thought around these conversations that we've had. Thank you for coming today.
So you are not even going to allow me to tell my listeners that I am the next Nairobi governor 2027? That doesn't happen.
Well,
on the time is up.
There it goes.
There
Well,
it
you've
goes.
just said it, and there you've shared it. So now we know.
So thank you very much. So this is the governance that we have to. We can't keep talking. We have to move from the mode of criticizing government and suggesting to government. We have to come in, like Kibwana became governor of Makueni, and actually demonstrated
How it should be done.
How it is done, because we are the people who made the constitution and who fought for devolution. But we keep leaving it to those who are against it. And that's why the tragedy.
And that's the
so
problem.
the conclusion as I go is to say the following, that it will take a revolution to find a solution. It will take a revolution in this country to find a revolution, and the leadership that is going to solve this country's problem is not going to come from Uganda or from outside the country. We have to step up, and the young people of this country, I can assure you, who I am working with, are completely determined not to recycle anything that has been in the system and which has failed us. So we must unite to deliver this country, and that's why I'm offering myself for Nairobi.
Cyprian Nyamwamu, spokesperson, Kenya, Bora to Tuitakayo. Thank you for being here this morning.
Asante san.
You've heard it from him.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.